Hello, my name is Anthony Roberts, President of the Team Builder Leadership Institute and Chief Transformation Officer. And this is my video blog, and today I wanted to share with you how to begin to build your team. And this came up because I have a friend of mine, so she took over a new team, and she's sort of new to leadership as well. But she took over a new team, and the team really hasn't been together for a while. Most of the team are sort of new, within 8 months or so. They really haven't learned how to work together. And so they're really not a team yet. They're a group of people in the same area. So she's come in, and she's come in behind a leader who was basically a micromanager. And the leader tended not to have people think for themselves. You've probably all seen the leader that dictates everything you do when you do it. So what happens is you have employees, instead of doing their position and using their own brain, they're afraid to make a decision, so they come to the leader for everything. So the leader she's replacing used to complain that she never had time to do anything because she was always helping them. But what she didn't realize is she created that environment of everybody asking every question they can, because if they made a decision without her, she would always tell them why it wasn't good, no matter what it was. So my friend was going to go in and sort of just take over, and not knowing leadership very well, she was going to just sort of do what her predecessor had done, and actually her grounds manager, she actually wrote him up on the second day for a minor infraction. And so she was telling me about this after the fact, and I sort of gave her some information and told her how she can actually build the team from the beginning. Now, of course, she's already into it a few months, so she has to backtrack a little bit, but let me share with you exactly what you do here. Okay, so you're new to a position, you're new to a leadership position. You got two things to do. Number one is you got to see how you can fit into the team and help it improve. And number two, you got to actually get the team to come together and coalesce as a team. Because in most cases, like in this scenario, they're just a group of people in the same geographical area. They're not really a team. So what the first thing you want to do to build this team is you want to attach their goals to the team's goals and to the group's goals and what we're here to do. Okay, so now this involves a conversation. Now, so what we're actually talking about here is you got to learn to coach. Now, when you coach, and I'll give you a resource you can use. This is my book. It's why try to make them do it when you can make them want to. And in chapter 5, it goes into coaching and exactly how to do it. And there's a 7-step process. Okay. Now, the process is simply assessing the individual's skills, identify their needs, plan their journey, set positive example. Create the environmental necessary for the change or the environment, provide constant feedback, and constantly recognize achievement. So it's just 7 simple steps, okay? But those 7 steps make the difference between a master leader and not so good a leader. Okay, so the first thing you have to do if you're taking over a new team is you have to come in and you sort of have to just observe who does what, how well do they do it, to what standard do they do it. What is their job description? What should they be able to do? Or in other words, what's required that they're not doing? You want to look at all this, and then within, say, a couple of weeks, usually week and a half, you want to sit down with each one individually and you want to have a conversation. Now, here's why you're doing this. This is your first counseling or coaching, okay? And you got to have this initial counseling or coaching because people cannot meet expectations they do not know exist. So you have to let them know what you expect. Now, I know a lot of leaders that say, well, Tony, they're an engineer, or they're this or this, so they should know that. Okay, you can say to yourself and to them, they should know that, and have a hard time getting the job done and have confrontation and have poor performance. Or you can say, well, let me take the responsibility as a leader to actually teach them what's needed here in this position, in this company, in my team. And then they'll be effective, and they'll get to a point where they can think for themselves and do for themselves, and all you have to do is just come in and make sure they have the things they need to get it done. So it's up to you whether your job is easy or not, and here's where it starts. So that new employee, you sit them down in writing. The first thing you want to do is you want to write down, and you should have a set form that you use for this, so it's standardized across the board. But the form I use, the first thing we do is we talk about the goals. We attach their goals to ours. So basically, the top's going to say goals. And let's say I was coaching you, I would start out with, so tell me, what would you like your life to be like 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now? What kind of car do you drive? What kind of vacations do you take? What kind of house do you have? And so you're going to start to open up and tell me what your actual desires, what your goals are, what you want out of life. You know, I've had people tell me, oh man, I want to retire and I want to have a sailboat, and me and my wife are just going to sail around the world enjoying life. You know, I've had people tell me, well, I've always wanted a mountain log cabin. I've had people tell me, I just want to get my kids through college. It doesn't matter what their goals are. But what you do is when they tell you what those goals are, you say, well, let's make a deal. I will commit to you 110% to get you to your sailboat as quick as I can if you will commit to me 110% that you will help this group get to our goals as quickly as we can. Will you do that? Will you make that commitment? Will you support us like that? Now, I've never had anybody tell me no, but what this just did when they agreed to that is attach their personal goals to our team and organization goals. In other words, now they're not doing it just because I said so. They're doing it to get what they want. And now there's more skin in the game, if you want to put it that way. Okay. Now, the second step you want to do is this is where I would have their job description, and I would sit down with them and say, okay, so here's what your position entails. Now, I know you probably know this, but I'm going to go over it just so we're on the same page. And you're very specific about exactly what the technical expectations are. Exactly. If you don't do this, they can't meet those expectations. And you never want to hear yourself saying as a leader, well, what you should have done, or what I meant is that's if you're having that conversation, it's your fault because you didn't inform them up front. So you want to make sure you inform them right here in this conversation. And this is in writing so they can take it with them. They can have it to refer to. And you have it to refer to in the future if necessary, right? So you're writing down all the expectations. And this is in your inform part. Your expectations are writing down all the technical, and you also have to do the interpersonal. This is where you say outline, okay, so on the team, I just want to go over a couple of things that I've seen in the past. I've seen people be sarcastic to other team members to make fun of their ideas. You know, when they say something to them, roll their eyes, or when a team member asks them for help, they've said things like, it's not my job. So I just want to go ahead and address that now. That's not the way our team works. Our team, everybody supports everybody else. Everybody helps everybody else because even though we have different job descriptions, the bottom line is we have one goal, the team's goal, what we have to accomplish as a team. So I explained all this to my friend, and she started this conversation. She did the inform. Now, after you inform, well, the first thing you do is attach their goals to ours. Then you inform them of all expectations, which is technical and interpersonal, right? Now, the third thing you do is you actually educate them on anything they need. Now, remember, you've been observing them for a week or so, so you know basically what they do and don't know. This is where you educate. This is also, by education, you offer any tools or techniques, anything that they need that you know would make them more effective, more successful at what they do. Remember, as a team leader, all I have to do is make all you, the team, successful, and I'm automatically successful. So this is your opportunity to help them. Maybe they need more training on HVAC. Maybe they need more training on running that machine. Whatever they need, and this is where you are asking them too. You're not just telling them. You're saying, okay, so based on those expectations, is there any information you think you need to really be able to meet those and exceed those expectations? Is there anything you need? Any tools, any training? And so this is where you find out what they need. This is where you start supporting them. Okay? So now after you have the educate conversation where you find out their needs and you discuss how you're going to meet those needs, then the next part of it is you're focusing on build the relationship. Now, so on your form, you're going to have your expectations, and then you're going to have what you're going to do to meet those expectations. Okay, so your steps are inform, educate, build relationship, but that's not the way your form looks. Your form looks like goals, and then expectations, and then what we're going to do about those expectations. In other words, our plan. And this is where you write down any training that you're going to give them, any tools, anything they mentioned as far as I need this, or I don't feel good about this, or I'm a little fuzzy on this. And this is going to help you develop them. We're going to come up with a plan to develop them to get them to be the most effective person they can be at that position. And if they say they would like to be a leader, well, then we can map out the plan as far as what we need to go with, where we need to go with that, what kind of skills. But remember this, when you're doing this, when you're coaching, when you're talking about expectations, never assume what somebody knows and never tell them what they know. If you're going to talk about something, like let's say I was going to talk about, what do you actually know about running a tool shop? So instead of me assuming by your position and where you worked and by your age and all these other factors we use, I'm just going to ask you, so tell me, what do you really know about running a tool shop? And I'll usually say, well, I don't really know a whole lot about it, so educate me. What do you really know? Now, of course, that's not exactly true. I'm going to have done my research before I have the conversation. But this way I can see where they are. One of the biggest things, or mistakes that are made with leaders is when they're dealing with employees and trying to educate them, they will either start way up here beyond the knowledge level of the employee, meaning that it's not attached to anything they understand, so it doesn't do any good. Or the employee will have this much knowledge, and the leader will start down here and treat them like they're an idiot, and it demotivates them. So you want to find out before you start sharing information with somebody, coaching, where are they? What do they need? You don't want to give them what they already have and treat them like an idiot. But by the same token, you don't want to start talking way up here about something that they have none of the foundational information. You got to find out what their needs are. All right, so to start this relationship, to start the team building, to start bringing them together and being cohesive, you sit down and you have this conversation one-on-one. And what you do is you attach their goals to ours. You inform them of all expectations, which two categories. You got your technical and you got your interpersonal. And then 3, you want to lay out the plan. You educate, and then what do we need to do to get them to where they can meet the standards we've just laid out. Build relationship is number 4. Okay, now build relationship you're doing throughout the program. For instance, one of the things I suggested to my friend who took over this team is that the very first thing she'd do is just sit down with the gentleman and say, okay, first let me apologize. When I first started here, we had this minor incident, and I wrote you up for it. And I'd like to apologize for that because I hadn't done this yet. The reason we're here today is so we can get on the same page as far as expectations, how we work together, how we interact, and what we accomplish. And so I hadn't had that conversation, so I really jumped the gun a little bit on that, and I do apologize for that. And so I do intend to make that up for you. So part of the reason we're having this conversation now is to make certain we don't have any more misunderstandings like that. We're going to go over everything we expect of one another going forward so we can come together as a team and be really effective in doing what we're doing. Is that okay with you? Now, I've never had an employee not say it's okay because people appreciate information. Is it really fair to ask somebody to meet a standard that they have no idea what it really is? And what are the chances they can actually meet it? It's not good. One of the things that you should always do when you're a leader, there should not be any minute of any day ever that the employees that report to you do not know exactly how you feel about their performance level. So, and that means you've got to communicate constantly. Now, this coaching session I'm outlining here, or you can call it a counseling session, this should be done initially, like we're talking about today, and with my friend in her scenario, and it should be done once a month. Now, it's not a long conversation, and if the employee's in pretty good shape as far as performance, then it's just simply a little bit of direction to move forward, is all it is. So it's not a long conversation at all. You just want to make sure that you go over the expectations. So let's say you have a monthly counseling scenario or something like that, then you would have a set of expectations like anything that they weren't meeting that you initially laid out, then you would touch on those, and then you would educate, see if there's anything you need to do as far as the support part of it, and then you would lay out the plan to correct any deficiencies. So once you do this initial one, the initial one probably takes maybe 15 to 30 minutes, but every month, unless there's a performance issue, 10 minutes max, and then of course in these is, remember, number 4 is relationship building, so this is where you're asking them, so how are you doing? You feel good about everything? Anything bothering you? Anything, anything I've done? Anything we can do? I mean, where you at? And you sort of make them sort of come out and tell you how they're feeling. So a lot of this on a monthly basis is really just a chance for you to sit down with them and have a little conversation and build the relationship. Remember, excuse me, remember, as it says in my book, and it talks about it in chapter 7, it goes tremendously into how communication and interpersonal skills. It's very important that when you have this conversation, you're using the right communication skills. Because if you roll your eyes, you're sarcastic, you're condescending, you're curt, any of these things, then you're not relationship building, you're relationship destroying, and that is not the purpose of this. As a leader, we only get a short amount of time to spend with people, so it needs to be quality time. So this, if you'll do this initial counseling with your employees, all of them, okay, and it needs to be done at the beginning. Now, real quick, let me say this. For anybody who realizes you're watching this and you realize, oh, that's something I should have done, and let's say you're a year or even 10 years into it, you still can't. So what you do is you create your form like I've talked about. So you have your goals, and then you have your inform, which is your expectations, and then you have your plan, which is your education. You make that form, and then you put the job description up in the inform, and also the behavioral skills that you want to touch on. And then what you do is you have one-on-one sessions with them, and they're not going to be used to it. They're going to be like, "Why are we doing this? What's the matter?" And you say, "Oh, nothing. You know, I was looking at some information the other day because I'm always trying to add to my leadership skills and improve, you know. And so I was looking at some information, and the guy suggested that it's really not fair to employees if I don't take the time to lay out my expectations. So first thing I want to do is apologize for not having done that sooner. But I believe he's right. So the second thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and take that step. I want to make sure I give you everything you need to be successful. You okay with that? Now, how many employees do you have that will say, no, I don't want to be successful? Most of them will say, absolutely, yeah, I wish you had done it. You should have done it. And you just suck it up and say, okay. So that's what I'm going to do. We're going to have this conversation. We're going to make sure that we know how to treat each other with dignity, respect, and honesty all the time. And we're going to make sure that you have no doubt about what I or the company expects for you as far as performance, and I have no doubt about what you expect from me as far as support and help. Okay? So let's have that conversation. Then you go through it. So you can do this at any time. This doesn't have to be, I just took the team thing. It's any time you're ready to start building that super team, that self-managed work team. So this is step number one. I hope you enjoyed the information. You can get the book on Amazon. Again, it's Why Try to Make Them Do When You Can Make Them Want to. Or you can come to the Team Builder Leadership Institute site, which is theteambuilder.adrc.com, and we have this and many other things to help you out. Enjoy the information, use it, and comment. Send me some feedback. Let me know how it works for you. And, of course, if you have any questions on anything else in leadership, well, remember, the Team Builder Leadership Institute is the only organization in the world that has the proven professional leadership standard. We have the Dynamic Guide Professional Leadership Standard, which when you put that in your organization creates a foundation of perfection for your culture and leadership. It becomes, your entire organization becomes a higher performance organization. So I'm just sharing some pieces of it. So anyway, if you have any questions, contact us. You can go through the website, give us a call, shoot us an email, and if you want me to talk about anything on the video blogs, give me a comment, let me know. Thanks for listening, and have a great day, and good luck with your counseling.